trying to work the phone. Theo in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates.
Yep, that's right. Can you hear me, Don?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
You're asking what our take is on morality. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose this kind of ties in neatly with the first caller and with Karen and now with Saad. So if you don't mind, if we just start, if you can kind of give me like a little summary of what your view is of what morality is.
Boy. I guess I view morality as, taking responsibility for the consequences of your actions and the effects of those actions on the world. I don't know. It's kind of a simple-minded sort of view. I view that intelligence is very important for morality. Empathy is very important. Reputation, these sorts of things are very important. And to amplify, the empathy part of it is you want to help others feel like you want to do to other people that you'd want them to do to you. This idea of reciprocity or tit for tat is very old. It's not a Christian idea at all.
If I could summarize it in this way, and you can tell me
Sure.
if you agree with this. So for me, it kind of goes about like three parts. Part one would be doing the right and the fair thing without expectation of praise or reward. And in particular, if it's not in your personal best interest to do so. And then part two would be kind of the opposite, avoiding doing the wrong and unfair thing, even if there would be no repercussions. And in particular, if doing the wrong and unfair thing would have otherwise been in your favor.
Well,
and then part three would be that morality applies to everybody equally.
Well, there's also, I guess, a component that I would look at there is, as you're talking about, doing the right thing and the wrong thing, it's also something to establish what the goal is in the first place. Like, it's for me, morality, it's a changing construct as we learn new information about ourselves and our species and how we interact and the effects that we have on one another that can change the way my outlook goes. And, I learn new things and, maybe I shouldn't do that because, it's affecting this person negatively and I had no idea, before. And I'm just now, learning, X, Y, Z. But, it's looking at the society that I want to be in, the world that I want to live in, and trying to establish some goals inside of there. Wanting people to be able to live in housing, wanting to be able to have access to food and water, like those. Setting these goals and then using that to help determine what's right and wrong. What helps pursue those goals, what hinders those goals. How our actions have effects on other people, having empathy for others, not just trying to, get ahead at all costs, even if that cost comes at a loss of others in a very large way. It's a very complicated construct, and that's still something that, I still, go through and change and evolve over time. Right. And as the month goes on, or next year, there may be some views that I had this year that have changed and adapted to new information that I've received. And I will be honest to say that I'm willing to get that additional information and to better myself in order to help further the goals that I think are important in the world that I want to see.
So
yeah,
Theo,
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Theo, I'm actually okay with your definition, with maybe the quibble that you seem to have fairness being a pretty important part of it, and I guess I would want to have consequences and impact and repercussions as a big part of it.
Well, when I say fairness, I mean just in the sense of having empathy for the other person, and that you're not doing something because there's some reward for you, or you don't do something because there might be punishment for you.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Well, there may necessarily be a reward for you. So, when I go out and volunteer, for example, I get fulfillment out of that. I enjoy it. getting something out of it, so to speak, but that doesn't negate, the good or the impact that it's having on others. And so I wouldn't necessarily,
absolutely, yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily make it as concrete as, doing something that doesn't have, any intrinsic benefit or fulfillment for myself. It just so happens to be that way for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, the primary goal isn't with you in mind. It's about doing something for someone else.
Okay, that's a little better.
Right. Okay. So, because I think part of the conversation on morality, where we go from there, is to say then, well, is because we've seen this so many times how religious people say, oh, but you must be religious because it teaches morality and blah blah blah. Okay. So then the next question would be, okay, is God moral? Because if we can agree that morality is a good thing, then surely if God is good, because that's what your texts say, then God must be good. But then let's substitute this idea for God for a human being. This God creates people and he tells them that, they're basically his property and they have to do as he says, etc., etc. Well, now substitute that idea for a human being. If some mad scientist created a bunch of human beings and told them to do the exact same thing, we'd label him a monster.
Right.
So why on earth would you, agree or...
Well, then you get into special pleading that, God is special because he's the creator and he gets to do what he wants and blah, blah, blah.
Or at the very least, sees all ends and has a larger plan that you can't comprehend.
It's the best possible world we could be in.
Yeah.
It's just, what do you guys think? Like, why don't people just think more about these things?
That's not something that you're taught to do. In a lot of religious upbringing, that's to question the word of God or the words of your pastor or preacher's minister, whatever it is in your denomination. It's not necessarily something that's encouraged to question this directive that you were just given, or this verse says X, Y, Z. You don't come back and say, well, why the bloody hell does it say that?
Well,
because that doesn't make sense.
Questioning's the path to atheism and the path to hell.
That's doing too much.
So there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of indoctrination.
Yeah, for sure. It's not something that's encouraged. That's for sure. Maybe there's a denomination that does, and considering the amount that are out there, maybe there is one that's like, yeah, we're all about that questioning life around here. But that was definitely not my upbringing. It wasn't something that was encouraged. And if you did, it's something that was frowned upon. That I would get talked to by my parents or grandparents, or we would have a sit down with the pastor to talk about the question that you were having, stuff like that. And so it's not
wouldn't be in front of a lot of people for sure.
No, it wouldn't. Can't have those ideas spread in the congregation.
So our show is unusual in that we do have theological discussions. We have a particular point of view, but we actually air these things and chat about them. And there aren't a lot of shows or venues where you can have true theological discussions and really question things in the theistic world. And I think we have an audience of closeted folks that are interested in these questions, but don't have other venues to discuss these things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially in certain parts of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. There's some terrible consequences for this sort of questioning in places like Bangladesh or even Pakistan. These sorts of things. Anything else, Theo?
Okay. One more thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much of your time.
It's too late for that, Theo. It's too late now. No, you're good. Go for it.
Just people not thinking. Like if you take like the stories in Genesis, where Adam and Eve were naked, but somehow they didn't realize this. Okay, fine. Then they're told not to eat from the tree of knowledge. Now, why you would call it the tree of knowledge? That's something very interesting to me.
The knowledge of good and evil, right?
Yeah, but they should know what that was. Like they should have known.
They didn't know what good and evil was, right?
Just told not to eat that.
That's that forbidden fruit. Gotta taste so sweet.
Next thing is they eat of it, and then they realize that they were naked. So this tells me that God specifically did not want them to know that they were naked. But the truth is that they were naked. So why would he not want them to see the truth?
I don't know.
He didn't want them questioned.
Are you familiar with the idea of a just so story?
Not quite.
It's a type of story that is often kind of ridiculous, that is meant to sort of explain something. And so a just so story about why giraffes have long necks is because they have to stretch their necks to reach the best fruit or something like that. And I view a lot of Genesis as just so stories for why, why humans have to work, why is life hard, why do women suffer in childbirth, why do we not eat sinew, for example. There's a lot of weird stuff in there, so I would put that in that category.
Yeah, I always thought
anybody who uses that giraffe argument, I would ask them, okay, so why does an ostrich have wings but can't fly?
Yeah, right.
for steering.
So this is just a genre of stories that, steering. In Texas, we have birds called roadrunners.
Oh yeah,
and they can fly, but they often are much faster on their feet than they are. Anyway.
But yeah, I always thought that was interesting, like the being naked and eating from the tree of knowledge, and then realizing, that we're naked, we're going to cover up. But it's like who are you worried about at that? Like, there's nobody around to take a look at you, to judge you on that side. They've
already seen each other's bits. So.
I'm just saying, it's like we've been down this road the entire time here. It's just y'all too. At this point, and
but so much of Genesis or so much of the Bible is kind of children's stories that I don't know, if you really think about them, they really don't make a lot of sense.
No, not even a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you for your call, Theo.
No, thanks to you guys.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Take care.